Do you dream of being CEO of your own empire, running your own company, achieving your life's goals, yet wake up in a cold sweat next to last night's takeout leftovers and a pile of bus ticket stubs? You are not alone. Like many others, you are suffering from a classic case of caviar dreams, tuna fish budget.
I'm Margaret Josephs.
And I'm Lexi Barbuto.
And every week, we'll be talking to influencers, trailblazers, disruptors, and risk takers who'll share their own journey to caviar dreams on a tuna fish budget.
Side effects may include increased motivation, boundless happiness, and a fast track to success.
Hello, Caviar Dreamers!
Hello, Caviar Dreamers! We are closing out Pride Month with a fabulous man who's a dear friend, Aaron Stewart, who did work for Martha Stewart, though they're not related.
They are not related, but I'm sure that was very confusing.
Yes, exactly. He moved from Kansas, he clipped his heels and went into the design business, had his own company.
He did right out of college.
Right out of college, then worked for Martha Stewart, learned a lot of stuff, cut his little teeth on that company.
And he met the Marge.
And he met the Marge.
20 years ago, not to age you both.
Yes, and we're dear friends.
When you were both 7 and 10.
Yes, and he's done a lot of life changes. He packed up his bags, moved to Puerto Rico with his husband, left the States, started a company there. But he also just started another company during the pandemic. So I think he's very inspirational.
He is, and he's so fun and so creative. And I think that everyone could learn a lot.
And you know what? It's about resilience. And he's amazing and he's funny. And I think you're really going to enjoy this podcast because I think it's inspirational for anybody who wants to start their own business, reinvent themselves, take a leap of faith. So, hi, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
First of all, we're so excited. We have Aaron Stewart here, founder and president of Porticoco.
Which is right here.
Right here.
Ooh, loving the product placement.
Yes. I mean, one of my dear friends.
I've known her for over 20 years, or as I like to say, 3 faces ago.
Yeah. He's known me 3 faces ago, exactly. And I just keep getting younger, which is a miracle of modern science. And I mean, listen, you've had so many career changes. And
I thought you were going to say you've had so many plastic surgeries. Oh my God.
You weren't supposed to tell anyone.
I know, from Kansas to Martha Stewart to Stuart Rodriguez, your own stores, your own company, and then now to Porticoco. You're living in Puerto Rico.
Yes, yes.
Living the life. You have so many things. I mean, come on, Aaron. You've reinvented yourself so many times, and you're really living the dream. And I think you're so inspirational, and it's very exciting. And you're our last man standing during Pride Month.
That's it. Closing out the month.
Closing out the month.
Well, thank you for having me on, ladies. I've been trying to get on this podcast since it began, and Lexi said somebody canceled, so she called Of course I can be on it.
No, we need stop, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
No, only kidding. So wait a minute, Aaron.
Yes.
Serious. When did you realize that you wanted to be in design? You knew you were a creative little genius. Was there any time when you were a little boy, when you were wearing your mother's high heels? Like, when did you realize?
You know what? So here's the funny thing. So I'm born and raised in Kansas. Both of my grandparents lived in Western Kansas. You know, we lived in like Wichita and outside of Kansas City, but spent, you know, much of my time as when you're younger, you spend tons of time with your grandparents. And my mother's mother, she never traveled anywhere, but she read every magazine. She had you know, Vogue, Elle Decor, Elle, W. She had since I was a kid, she had every magazine. So she was the one who really inspired me. And I learned about the world through all of her magazines. So every time we would go there, I'd just be going through them and reading, and, you know, London and Paris. And, you know, at that time, Dallas was a big fashion center, and New York, and all of these places. I was like, oh my God. So I really, you know, from a young age, I was really enjoyed design. I enjoyed, at that time, it was more about clothing and really being creative and making things out of nothing. And just really trying to think I always thought very big, even as a small kid. I mean, I remember when like literally like 6, 7 years old, riding my bike at my grandparents and just thinking like, there has to be more than like, the neighbors are 20 miles away and I'm riding on this like country road. And I'm like, there has to be more. Like, there has to be more to the world than this. And lo and behold, here I am.
You clicked your heels.
And I said, get me the hell out of Kansas.
And you got out of Kansas.
Now, you two are both FIT alum.
Yes.
Alumni.
Went to FIT with I was in the home products development and marketing major, which was amazing. That school is so great because it has so much industry support. So, you're not getting someone, some 65-year-old professor in the Midwest teaching from a, textbook and has never actually done these things.
Yes, true.
That's the cool thing about FIT is it's like, half of my teachers were people who worked in the industry, but they loved students. And so they would teach one class a week or one class a semester. So it's really an amazing school in that way that, the industry, whatever industry you're in, there's tons of industry involvement, because you're in the heart of it all in New York.
I think that's so important as well, because then it's like the curriculum is very current with what's actually happening in the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'd like to teach a class at FIT.
Oh, well, you are connected with FIT.
I am. We should teach a class, Aaron.
Let's do it.
I mean, that would be great. I
That
think
would be super fun.
Behave in life and business.
yes, and still succeed in spite of ourselves.
After I graduated, a couple times I went back and spoke, and I could not imagine being a college professor because the kids like literally they sit there and they're like, when you're talking and then you're like asking if there's any questions. I'm like,
I know.
Oh God. I'm like, and the second time I did it, I said to my professor, I'm like, how do you do this? I'm like, they're literally, it's like talking to a wall. He was like, welcome to my life.
I know, terrible. Oh my God. So let's just do it. What was your first job?
Oh my God. Well, I wanted to work like literally from the time I was 7, I think.
First job out of college.
Oh, my first job out of college. I think my first job ever. My first job, my first job while I was in school was I started my own company, Sauvé, New York, the bedding company. And that's where Margaret and I met because I had a booth at the gift shows. And
Wait, that was your first job? That was your first company?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started it when I was a junior in college at FIT.
What was it called?
Sauvé, New York. Remember the decorative pillows?
Yes, I do remember that. I didn't know that was your first company ever.
Yes, darling. That was my first one. And I had that company for 3 years. And the first year I did $35,000 in sales. The second year I did $350,000. And the third year I did over $1 million in sales, selling to
Fancy pants.
ABC Carpet, Neiman's, Saks, Harrods, Robin Stuckey, a bunch of other, and then 9/11 happened. And then I was in a store in New York City buying trim for some of the pillows, and this woman that owned it was this company called Tinsel Traders, which I think they moved to San Francisco. I'm not sure they're there anymore.
I remember that.
But she was always like, bring in some of your fabrics. And I one day finally brought them in, and this woman was in there looking at them with the owner saying like, oh, these are so great. You should come work with us. And I was like, who? And she goes, oh, no, you wouldn't be interested. It's like, it's a bunch of, mass market crap. You wouldn't be. And I'm like, no, who do you work for? And she was like, no, you wouldn't be interested. I'm like, she's like, your stuff is so beautiful. I'm like, who? She's like, I work for Martha Stewart. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? And so like, at the time I had my own company, but then 9/11 happened. Like I met her in July and then 9/11 happened. And then the next day after 9/11, order cancellations were coming through the fax machine. And I looked at my business partner. I was like, we both can't take a salary. Like, I don't know, like we had no idea what was going to happen. So I pursued the job at Martha Stewart, and I got hired there to be a designer for their signature collection, which was really, this was in 2001. So it was this whole decorating system that was basically, you have a catalog, and it was like whatever was on the page. The paint was by Sherwin-Williams, the fabric was by P. Kaufman, the furniture was Bernhardt, all of the flooring was Shaw. So it was this whole decorating system, and it was like, you know, decorating for dummies. And it, like on each page, it listed like, this is everything in there. So you could create that in your own home, which, you know, in 2001 was very forward thinking. Now,
Yes.
Green and Lily, Restoration Hardware, like all of those people, it's pretty much what they're doing now.
Yeah, you guys were the first.
Yeah. So that was like the most like dream beyond dream job. I like literally thought I had won the lottery, and I did. It was so much fun. I mean, I was such a geek. I would go to sleep at night and I'd be like, hurry up and fall asleep so you can go to work tomorrow. And on Sunday nights, I would be like, oh, okay, go to sleep, because next week you get to go back to work. And it was the most unbelievably magical, coolest place, like the most talented people in every department, whether it was in, you know, the photo shoots, the styling that was happening, the product design, the package design, the graphic designers, like everything. You were like constantly walking around and people were working on stuff, and you would just be like, oh, like, oh my, like you would be passing the aisles and you were just like, the stuff was just blew your mind, because it was a magnet for the most creative and most talented people in whatever field it was. So it was, and the people were just like super cool, fun group of people. It was a really, 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 really fun time. You know, in your first job, you think that things are stressful and they're, you know, oh, this or that, and my boss, or, you know, this could be better or that could be better. But it was like, if your first job, if you really just enjoy it, like that's when you have the least amount of stress, you have the least amount of pressure on you, and just enjoy the job and take it all in and just learn everything. And I really used that and like absorbed all around me, each of the executives, and when I was in meetings of like who does stuff really excellently and who I thought could do things better. And it was just from my perception, and tried to really model those things of like, as my career went on, of thinking how people handled certain situations with vendors and licensing partners. So it was like getting my master's degree in business and design.
Oh, that was great. Well, I mean, Martha Stewart's an absolute genius. She still is.
Now, was it confusing because you were Aaron Stewart at Martha Stewart? Were people like, this is nepotism, he's a family member?
Still, to this day, people still think that I'm either her son or her nephew. And it was hilarious because when I had my Amex card was like Aaron Stewart, Martha Stewart living on the media. So I would hand my card to pay and people would be like, thank you. And they're like,
I know your cute little face. You did your face like,
let them believe.
Someone was like, "Are you related?" And I'm like, and I would always be, I'm like way too honest. I'm like, no, it's just that, you know, similar name. But then this guy that I was traveling with one time, somebody asked me, and he was like, he's actually not supposed to say. He was like, Aaron, you're not supposed to talk about it.
I know, that was so good. That's so good. Now, what made you leave Martha Stewart?
Because so at Martha Stewart, it was, you know, it was licensing. So it was us working with the partners and giving them designs and concepts. You know, we were never the ones going to the factories. We were never the ones traveling, you know.
I know, that's what it is. I mean, I try to explain to people licensing all the time. You're not doing the manufacturing. It's just your label, just your brand. Yes. Giving direction.
Direction.
I really wanted to be able to travel. So I got a job offer from Sephora, the luxury bedding company. And I started as a design director there and then became the creative director and was there for 7.5 years. And I traveled the world. I mean, talk about, you know, coming from Kansas. When I was at Martha Stewart, I went to London for my first time out of the country at, I don't know, it's like 25, I think. And then the next 7.5 years, I mean, I was everywhere. It was like, I went to Italy like 4 times a year, and, you know, Paris and London and, you know, Asia and India and China, and it was like traveled around the country. So, you know, after 7.5 years of traveling, like some of these trips were like 3 weeks long, which like that's rough. 3-week trip, you come home and you have like a thing of mail like this. I mean, back when you used to get mail. But it was amazing. It was like so awesome to be able to travel and experience the world. It was funny. This is totally random. When I was signing on the Facebook the first time, and whatever, like 2005, 6, 7, I don't know. And I was thinking in my head, like, oh, I haven't been to that many places. And on my work computer, I had all of my photos. So I was like uploading like photos from travel. And I was like, oh my God, I've actually been quite a few places. But it wasn't until that moment that I realized how much traveling I had actually done.
That you appreciated it.
Yeah, I know, which is so fun. Let's talk about the sheets a little, Sfera Brothers.
Yes.
What thread count do you think is the best thread count?
Mm-hmm.
People like to know about sheets.
You know, the tough thing is people think the higher the thread count is, it means that it's a better sheet. That's not true. It's what I always tell people is, you know, there's a reason why you go into a Bed Bath & Beyond and there's 1,000 thread count sheets for $29.99. Like, you can't possibly like think that that's a good deal, that it's going to be something nice. I always say to people, because Sfera has 1,000 thread count sheets, but an entire set of those sheets is going to, you know, run you probably $3,000. I always say to people, unzip the package in the store, feel it. If it feels nice and soft in the packaging, great, buy it. But just because it says it's 600 thread count, 700 thread count, 1,000 thread count, and you open up and you in the store and you feel it and it feels scratchy, rough, and you're like, oh, I'll wash it a couple times, it'll soften up. Yes, sheets soften up, but they soften up after like 100 washes, not after 3. So I personally love Sfera's Celeste sheet. It's a 406 thread count. It's a percale. It's been their best-selling sheet forever. And I think in the luxury space, it's the best value for a luxury sheet. They have other sheets, which there's one called Giza 45, which is the longest staple cotton yarn. And the thing with cotton, when you're making, so the staple that you buy, the longer the length of the staple, the finer you can spin the yarn, because the longer, you know, you put fiber together and then you twist it, but the longer it is, the thinner you can make it. So the Giza 45 is a very fine, soft sheet, very, very lightweight. So that's my second favorite sheet.
All right. Now, do you press your sheets or send them out to be pressed? Because recently we had a guest who was like, it is life-changing. Wash your sheets at home, but then send them to be pressed at the dry cleaner.
Yes, it's, so we had a friend that had a house upstate in New York, and she had all of her sheets pressed, and they would actually, the pillowcases she would have starched. And I mean, it's like staying at a 5-star hotel. It is life-changing.
I think that's a nice treat. Yes, I just send my sheets out also, but I'm going to start sending my sheets out all the time.
But you know, we're super spoiled. We have a cleaning lady 4 days a week here, because we have 2 dogs. I call her our nanny for our dogs, Cooper and Cooper.
Yeah, but does she iron the sheets?
She does. Well, she irons the pillowcases and starches them, and then she irons the top third of the flat sheet, and she doesn't iron the fitted sheet. But it's, I mean, depends how far you want to take it. In New York, we used to send our sheets out to have, I didn't, my husband used to send them out to have them pressed. So the only thing with that is if you have white sheets, they can start yellowing. So you have to be.
For pressing, they could start yellowing?
Yeah, because the starch, you know, you have like a white blouse or something, you don't want to send it to the dry cleaner that much because it starts changing color. But you can tell them you want them to bleach them. If they start getting a little yellow, that the dry cleaner can do that. But yes, that's pure luxury, sweetie.
I know. I sent my sheets out to be pressed.
I mean,
I feel like I wanted to be different.
I have a toddler in my bed, so I'm not sure what a luxury experience I'm getting with Nino in my sheets.
I thought it would be a good idea to send the sheets out.
You know, the other thing that makes it a really amazing experience is it's so funny. We were just finishing all these accessories for a project today, and I was taking one of our designers through like how to set a bed, and like I know like the back of my hand, but a lot of people don't know how to set a bed. And I was telling her like, okay, you need a mattress pad. And she was like, what? She was like, okay, maybe not. I'm like, no, I'm like, that's like having on like proper underwear. Like you have to to have a mattress pad, and one that has like not necessarily a mattress topper, but something that is plush and thick for the mattress pad. It's like life-changing. You're like crawling into a cloud. It's the company store.
Top.
Yes, and the company store has some amazing options for pillow mattress pads that also like mattress pad pillow topper combos.
Oh, I like it. I'm going to order that then, Aaron's store.
You got to get it. So
Also,
now you guys have the most fabulous, insane, creative interior design company. You do tremendous multi-million dollar projects.
Because you met your husband, Fernando, and was he in interior design at that point?
No, it's actually interesting. So when I met my husband, he was working for
Ralph Lauren? No?
No, Hickey Freeman.
Hickey Freeman, that's right. Hickey Freeman, the way he says it.
Yeah, they had a younger brand called Hickey, which was this super cool brand. But after like 2008, when all of the world imploded, the financial system, they closed that brand. So then he was working for Tory Burch. He was a regional manager there for a while. And I'm the one that talked him in. He's from Puerto Rico originally. He didn't want to move back here. I talked him into it. And we have like our interior design business open, and not because we were like, oh, we're going to move there and open a store and an interior design business. It just like happened. Like people came into the store and they're like, oh, this is so amazing. Can you help us with our living room? Can you help us with that? So it's like, it starts small and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I always say to people, interior design projects are like the movie A Beautiful Mind, where he has that wall with all those photos and there's string attaching to everything. Like that's an interior design project. Everything goes backwards and forwards and upwards and down. It's like you make one slight miscalculation, you could have some custom piece coming that's tens of thousands of dollars has to be, cut down or sent back, or we had someone one time, she sent the wrong drawings for this TV unit to be made. It was $15,000. We had to have the thing remade for $15,000. So if you want a $15,000 TV unit, I have one that I can sell you.
What color is it?
Brown.
Brown.
So it's a people are like, oh, it must be so glamorous. You're picking fabrics. It's like the picking fabrics and design element portion of it is like 15%. The other, 85% is doing the work and making sure that, the drawings are correct and the build out's happening correct and that the light switches are in the right place. All of those things the plug is in the right place because the lamp that was going to be here, like the cord, there's a junction box and it has to be hidden. So it's like every single thing, there's something attached to it. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
Managing the contractors too, as well. It's like the timelines and keeping people on task.
Yes.
We're not good at that, hence this task is not finished.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's getting better though. It's getting better. So
Yeah.
You've had a lot of different parts of design in your life. And then you decided, the pandemic was, got your creative juices going again. You decided, let me do Porta Coco.
Wait, hold on a second. You guys are wearing like matching tie-dye. I'm just seeing this.
I didn't even realize it.
Is it National Tie-Dye Day?
It is.
That's right.
Fantastic.
It's actually just we left something pink in the wash, a pink sock and a gray sock.
It happens.
I know.
Yeah, so we had a store. We were in the middle of moving it the summer before Maria to a new location. The new location flooded because of Maria, so we decided to just focus on interior design. So we focused on that for the 3 years. And then last January, I was in the process of reopening the store and working on that. And then the pandemic hit. So then the week before the entire world shut down, I was in Walgreens down here. And at that time they were saying like, oh, it's not going to come to Puerto Rico. Once it gets into air that's above 70 degrees, the heat will kill it immediately. So like, we don't have anything to worry about. That's what everyone was saying here. But then I was like, maybe not. So I go to Walgreens, March, the second week of March, buying cleaning products. And I'm standing in the aisle in front of the Purell and the Germex at Walgreens. And I was thinking, and I knew at that moment in my gut, we were going to be using this stuff for a long time. So I was like, why is this stuff so ugly? And it looks like it came out of a hospital supply closet.
Yeah.
And it was like my aha moment of like, I need to like reinvent this category and, have it be, and all those like little bottles that are single-use bottles. I mean, there's so much plastic and so much stuff that we throw away that it's like, it just like, if you pay attention to the amount of stuff that you throw away in a week, I mean, I have really, from doing this project and, everything that we do is good for the earth, and we make sure that it's using recycled products or something that can be recycled, or what's the different way of thinking of doing these products, that it's not it's not your mother's hand sanitizer. So making sure that we're doing the right thing for the environment, and that's kind of like really how the whole idea happened. And I came home and I called a couple of my friends. I'm like, I have this idea, what do you think? And they're like, oh my God, I love it, it's amazing. So then it was like learning an entire new industry, because it's totally different from home. I mean, in the home industry, if you buy a set of dishes or a set of sheets from a factory, wherever, like you order it, you tell them the packaging, everything, but they make the ceramic dish, they glaze it, they put a decal on it, they put it in a box, they put a label on it. In the beauty industry, it's like you buy the containers from one person. If the container needs a sticker, you have to buy the sticker from someone else. The box, you buy it from a box manufacturer. Then whatever you're putting inside the container comes from someone else. Then you have to send it, the filler sometimes is the one who makes the goop that goes inside whatever you're doing, but sometimes you're buying it from someone else. So then you have to find a third party that you send everything to, and then they're assembling it. But then sometimes they won't put it in the box. You have to send it to someone else to put it in the box. It's like, it's wild. It's totally. So it was really learning a totally new industry, which I totally loved. And I've found some amazing people that were amazing mentors over the last year, and really someone you could talk through ideas with. And like one of the gentlemen, he's 35 years experience that we bought all of the containers from, and he really knows the industry inside and out. So it was awesome to brainstorm with him and say, what about this? And he's like, I'm not sure if that, maybe if we did this. So it's great to be able to brainstorm. I love working on projects in groups, because I think it helps make the end product even better. So that's what I worked on. I mean, we weren't allowed to leave our house for like 2.5 months. So it was like we couldn't go for a walk. We couldn't go for a run. We couldn't go do anything. So that's where I came up with the idea for Porto Coco.
No, what I love about Porto Coco is the whole thing is that it's refillable. Mm-hmm. You don't throw out the container. You can find it in your bag because it's brightly colored. The containers look very high-end and glamorous. It's fragrance-free. And I think that's the great thing about it, that you came up with something like this. And I think you could also, what you and I have discussed is just like people could customize it for your larger accounts. But I love that you reinvented yourself because it was times of necessity. And I think that's what's inspiring to people.
Yeah, it's, and I wanted the solution is made in Puerto Rico. That was something that was important to me, that part of it was made here. And the solution is made by this amazing manufacturer. He is a doctorate in chemistry, has an MBA from Stanford University, second generation running his family's company. It's a plant-based alcohol, no bad, harsh chemicals in there. It's all made with good chemicals to make a nice solution that, at the end of the day, it doesn't dry your hands out because it's made with a plant-based alcohol. It's not made with ethyl alcohol, which is similar to the alcohol you drink. That's why all of the distilleries were making sanitizer, because that's with the ethyl alcohol. The isopropyl alcohol is the one that they use in hospitals. That's the one that dries your hands out and has a much stronger alcohol smell to it. And then we have
we like ethyl. So technically I could drink this if I get desperate, is what you're saying.
Could, but actually, it was funny because I asked the manufacturer, he was like, I'm like, can I drink this? And he was like, you could. He goes, but we add an extra chemical into it to make it taste bad, so people don't do that.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart. Because maybe I would get desperate in times.
Exactly. Well, I mean,
could happen.
You know, you have people over, you're having a couple cocktails, and then you're like, shit, like I'm out of vodka. It's 10 o'clock. I'm not gonna drive out. But like, hold on, I got a gallon of
I got the
porter.
hand sanitizer. It's not a bad idea.
Put it over ice. Let's see what happens.
Exactly.
Marge,
Yes.
I know you're using Hair Story.
Oh, Hair Story. I love it because you know why? It feels like conditioner when you put on your hair and it doesn't suds, but it's shampoo.
You know what the best thing is? We chemically treat our hair a lot.
No, we're naturally this blonde. We don't chemically treat our hair.
And in regular shampoos, there are the same chemicals and detergents as in some household cleaning products, but not in Hair Story.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's so many damaging chemicals, sulfates, parabens, all these terrible things. And Hair Story is sulfate free.
And my hair stays so nice and smooth.
And the good thing about it is, too, it doesn't matter what kind of hair type you have, whether your hair is curly, whether it's straight, whether it's prone to be frizzy, whether it's colored, whether it's gray. It works for everybody. And they have a couple of different options. There's a rich wash, there's a new wash, and they work for everyone.
I know. I think you will absolutely love Hair Story because it's from the creators of Bumble and Bumble.
Yes. You guys need to go to hairstory.com and use our promo code to get 15% off your first purchase. So use promo code Caviar to get 15% off your first purchase. That's hairstory.com, hairstory.com, and use our code Caviar to get 15% off hairstory.com.
But I just want to be clear. Fernando, your husband's still doing the interior design, and
Yes.
you've branched off, and now you're doing Portico.
Correct. I'm still involved with the design, but on the back end, I'm not part of the day-to-day. So that was the thing. The day-to-day was what made me crazy because, you know, you're trying to, where's the wallpaper guy? Where's the guy that's supposed to hang the curtain? You know, and there's always like, oh, my car, this, or my dog died, or my, and here everyone's in the ICU. Nobody can ever just be like, oh, like my daughter's sick, I have to take care of her. My daughter's in the ICU. Everybody's always in the ICU. I've never, ever, in my life, I've known 2 people that have been in the ICU. Like one was when I was in like high school, like he got into an accident, and like my uncle was in the ICU because he had a like massive heart attack. But that's the only time here. Like in the last week, I probably heard 4 people be in the ICU. So, and so I've come here as a New Yorker, and I'm like this, you know, like somebody told me they're going to be somewhere at 9. I expect them to be there at 9, not at 11. So I'm only involved with the back end, with the design. Like with this large 3-story in-house we're working on. So I'm doing all the accessories and the bedding and everything for the kitchen and the drapery and the fabrics and the wall colors. Because all of the furniture, like my husband's much better with the furniture and space and walking in somewhere and saying like, oh, like we could put, you know, a sofa here and this, or 3 chairs in a circle, and we could put, you know, he like is like with his hands, and I'm walking in being like, okay, like I can get where he's coming from, but for me walking into a totally empty shell is like, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna go, you guys figure this out. Like this is totally overwhelming to me. But what I love is color and pattern and texture, and I love textile, so I love going to the showrooms here that have all of the different textiles from Kravet and the Jofa and, you know, Kelly Wearstler and wallpaper, and looking at all that stuff is what makes me excited.
And it's so fun. I definitely get that. But I think I prefer the accessorizing and like the finishing details and the styling as opposed to the figuring things out, because it's so easy to make mistakes.
Yes, it's very easy. And we've made mistakes. But
Yeah.
not too many.
Well, one of them is a massive cupboard in the office that we thought was tiny. Well, I thought it was tiny, and so did the girls in the office. And we ordered it, and it came, and we were like, holy fuck, this is massive. You could hide 7 people in here, but now we're stuck with it. So we have a massive cupboard.
Well,
in the
Lexi
office.
thought it was expensive considering she goes, it's a little expensive for its size, but then it came in, it was massive, so it was fine.
It actually was the right price, maybe not the right shape for the space. What are some of the most common mistakes you see when you walk into people's houses in interior design?
one of the things that makes me crazy is people here in Puerto Rico use teeny tiny little rugs. Like you come into a house with like a grand living room and they have like a 5x7, and I'm like, this is like a Malibu Barbie rug. Like what? Like
Yes. I think in general, people fuck up with the rugs.
Yeah.
I think a rug should be, it shouldn't take up the whole entire room, but it should be grand and large. That's the, the reason that you have them, and a nice thick pad to go underneath it. Like that makes me crazy when you go to people's house and you walk on a rug, on the rug, and it kind of like slides on the floor because there's not a rug mat underneath it. One, it's like you're gonna slip and break your neck, but the other is like, if you're barefoot and you're walking, you want something soft to step your feet on.
It's true. Now, I heard wall-to-wall carpeting is making a comeback. Have you heard this?
I have not heard that, but it's the whole thing. It's like cyclical. So it's like, the 70s and 80s, like sunken living rooms are back with carpeting.
Yes.
So I could definitely see that. I mean, we're not necessarily doing wall-to-wall carpeting because it's Puerto Rico, like everything is tile. Or like stone or a ceramic, but every space we do, we put large rugs because I think it just helps make it feel more homey and not cavernous. And
you have to custom make these large rugs because I find it hard to find a very large rug.
Depends on the space. We have one space now that's like a weird shape. The room is like square, but the building turns. So we just decided we're going to have a custom made carpet. And it needs to be at least a foot away from the wall all the way around. Otherwise, that's the thing when you walk into a room and it's too big and it's like an inch away from the wall, like it shouldn't be that. You should have a little bit of breathing room away from the wall.
Got it. I have a hard time finding 12 by 18s.
That's it. Yes. The bigger you go, the harder it is. So there's a lot of great custom programs like that you can go to. There's a lot of great, call it broadloom, where it's like it's 4 wall-to-wall carpet, so it's 12 feet wide, but then they have a roll of it, so you can make it in any size you want, or do what we layered look, where you put something like a sisal down and then you put another carpet on top of it. So if you're not able to get the rug the size you want, but you find one that you love, then you can still have the rug take up the room, but you're able to have something decorative and then something a little more simple.
I like that idea.
That's a good idea.
Layered rugs are very happening.
Layered rugs.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
I like a layered rug. So, Erin Stewart, tell me, what do you see for yourself in the next 10 years? You're going to grow Puerto Coco. Do you see yourself coming back to the States? Because, you've taken a lot of leaps of faith, and I think that's inspirational to other people.
Yeah, I love it down here in Puerto Rico. I mean, growing up in Kansas and living in New York, for almost like 19 years, I love the change of seasons. And I thought, what, like I could never live somewhere that has one season. And let me tell you, I love living in a place that has one season. I will never, ever live through another Northeast winter again. It's just
okay.
Like February December is usually not that cold, but then January is cold, and then February you're like, and then it's like March, you're like, oh, it's going to be warm. And like New York, it doesn't get warm until like end of April. So you're just like miserable and freezing your butt off, and 300 pounds of sweaters, and you walk into a store and you take everything off, and then you're holding all of your coats and your sweaters and your scarves. Like it's one thing to take a trip during the winter and be somewhere for 5 days, but it's great to come back to 85-degree weather.
Okay, so you're going to stay in Puerto Rico. I see what's going on here.
That's
So-
good.
I'm still going to buy the house next to you. And
Okay, fine. All right. I mean, you were going to eventually come back here. So tell me, like, what advice, because we say entrepreneurial, we're very entrepreneurial. What entrepreneurial advice could you give to someone?
just don't think about it. I mean, I came up with the concept of Puerto Coco and was like ordering products. Like I started talking about it in March, and I was like placing orders in June. Like a friend of mine, when I announced that this is what I was doing, because I didn't tell anyone, especially I didn't tell my mom, because my mom would have been calling me every day, like, did you get the samples? Did you get the samples? Did you get the samples? I'm like, Mom, like, could you stop asking me every day, like, what's going on? So I specifically didn't tell her until it was ready to launch. But she was like, what are you working on? Because I had told my sister-in-law about it, and she said something to my mom, and I wouldn't tell her what was happening. So when I started telling people what I was doing, this friend of mine sent me a message on Instagram saying, like, you're unbelievable. I can't believe you. I've heard it takes years to start a company. I'm like, years? Like, what? Like, it doesn't take years. You just have to, like, stop. Don't think about it. Just do it. Like, if you have a passion, like, if you know, the whole thing of like, oh, I'm trying to save up money to start this or do that. It's like, you got to just rip the Band-Aid off and go for it. Like,
I think that's good advice. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, it's like, whatever, like, you know, be scrappy. You know, I know many people that they like got a credit card that had like a, you know, now it's like you can get a credit card with $10,000 limit, and they've used that to start their business. Or, you know, when I had my company at Sauvé, I was in college. I had like literally no money. And my first order is from ABC Carpet, and I got an order for, it was like $8,000. And my roommate called me, was like, an order just came through on the fax machine from ABC Carpet for $8,000. I was like, oh my God. And like went home and I was like, cool. And she was like, now how are you going to make this stuff? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to do it. Like, cause I'm like,
I know, exactly.
I needed $4,000. I mean, I probably had $4 in my bank account at that moment. So there's like micro lending companies that can lend you money that you pay back over time. There's also grants. I mean, those take longer, but then, you know, you have to find someone that believes in you and tell them your story, and they'll, you know, one of your friends or your family could be an angel investor. It just, the one thing that I will say is, you have to find someone that is amazing financial partner with you, because if you don't have that, you will go out of business in like 2 seconds. Like, that is the most important thing. We have an unbelievable financial person that is working for us now. I mean, we've gone through, and it's taken us a while, but we've had 2 people that have worked with us that have been unbelievable, and it just helps you sleep better at night. Like, I can tell things from my gut if it feels right or not, but like, I'm not going to sit down and do a, you know, forecast of like where the cash is going in sales. Like, that's not my thing. So find a good financial partner, and not all accountants know how to do that. I mean, and that was one of the things when I first started out, was thinking like, oh, it's an accountant, like they can do this. It's like, no, it is a special skill set to be able to, someone to think big picture. Most accountants, all they want to do is like balance your checkbook at the end of the month.
It's true. By the way, I agree with you.
Like, oh no, like I can do this and we can do that, and they this big, huge like song and dance. Like, have them show you their financial statements. Have them show you what they've done to show projections, or like, where's the cash flow? Like, show me cash flow statements you've done for other people. Like, scratch them, and then they say like, oh, it's confidential, I can't say. Scratch their name off it. I don't want to see who it is, but just show me your process, because all accountants will tell you they can do everything, and they cannot do everything. And that will kill you, because you know, you're working for yourself, and you know, when you start your company starting out, you're either swimming cash or you're rubbing nickels together to make payroll. And if you have a good financial partner, you will sleep better at night. And that's the worst thing, to be stressing over money and be stressing over, you know, this is due or that is due.
I agree.
It also kills your creative process.
It does, because you're too anxious about other shit.
It's true. Now, we always say that the Marge's success is accredited to her percentage of 50% delusion to 50% determination. What's honey?
I will say that Fernando, my husband, is the most tenacious person I have ever met in my entire life. And he is such a hard worker, and he is, he's just very determined, and he will stay up 5 days in a row working to get something done. Whereas I'm a little bit more like I'm going to bed.
So are you in the delusion?
I'm delusion. No, I'm more, you know what? I know what needs to be, and I know what needs to be done to get it done. Like, I'm too fucking old. Like, I don't want to overdo shit. And I don't like, when I was 20 years old, like I would have stayed up 5 days in a row to like cutting swatches for Sauvé and gluing them down and sending them out to clients. Like, I would never, ever do all of that shit now. But, that's a great thing about being young. So, but I know you have all that energy, but I know what needs to be done. So I don't want to I'm 47 years old. I don't want to overdo things. I want to do what needs to be done. Like, if I need to stay up all night and do it, I'll do it, but I'm not going to do it and do extra stuff just because. You know what I mean?
Okay, what percentage of delusion are you and what percentage determination?
I don't know, probably, I don't even know. No, you know what? I'm a very determined person. When I have a goal, to do something. Like when I was buying my apartment in New York City, I bought it pre-construction. So it was like 2 years before. So I was like, really like, it was like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm spending my money on. Like, I mean, I was like, I'm not buying extra coffee. I'm not buying like a donut. I'm like, focusing my money to be able to like buy this apartment and all of the stuff that I need to do. So I'm a very goal-oriented person. If it's just kind of like whatever, like I can definitely sit around and be on Instagram all day. But if there's something that I need to get done and I know I need to get it done because of X, I will get it done.
Okay.
You're 100% confused.
You're 100% confused. What's your determination? 80%?
0%. No, I'm probably not 80. Probably say 80% determination.
80% determination, 20% delusion. 20% I can't remember what the question is.
That's me.
That's it. Okay.
Now, we ask everyone also, what was your big girl panties moment? I'm going to ask you, what was your Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore moment?
Yes.
Oh, God. I mean, I don't know. There's like so many.
All right. Think of one special one.
I literally, guess I would have to say my first day at Martha Stewart, I was riding on a private plane to go visit a client or a licensing partner. That was like, I'd never been on a private plane before. So I was like, Teterboro rolling up. It's like wheels up like 3 minutes after you got there. I'm like, this is living. And I get probably also the other thing was when she invited 6 people from the design team to stay at her house in Maine. That was amazing. That was an amazing, amazing, amazing trip.
And you had to go there, and were you like, oh my God, what gift am I going to bring Martha Stewart to invite me to her house? Because she's Martha Stewart and she has everything.
Exactly. Well, I was working for her, so I was like, my presence is gift enough. No, I don't even remember what I brought. It was super fun. What was hilarious was, I have to show you this photo. All of these Christmas decorations were coming in for the Kmart, and there were these birds with a wire on their feet to hook onto a branch. So I took one, and all of the photos, I had this bird, and I'd be like, there's like a group photo, so I look like a lunatic. And everybody's like, oh my God, a bird landed on your finger? I'm like, yes, it's so beautiful up there. But
How is Martha?
She's great. I always said to people who she liked me, because I never got rattled by her. And I would always say to the people that work for me, don't listen to how she says what she says, because she doesn't care how she comes across and she has no idea how she comes across. But I said, what she is saying to you, there's a very important message. So if you have an interaction with her and she's telling you something, I said, don't listen to what she's saying. Don't listen to how she says it. Listen to what she's saying, and come talk to me, and we'll like figure it out.
Get into therapy.
Exactly. I have a Groupon for therapy. I'll give you guys one. No, I liked her and she liked me. So I didn't get rattled when she would have one of her moments. And she was always super calm, cool, and I didn't let it rattle me. So I'd just be like, okay. She would get upset about something. I'd be like, okay, well, we have 3 choices. Which one do you want? 1, 2, or 3? And she'd be like, 2. I'm like, okay.
I think that's such good advice, though. Don't listen to the delivery, listen to what's being said, because I think that's the point. People focus on the hysteria. And in any creative industry, there is a lot of hysteria at any given moment.
Well, Aaron Stewart,
Yes.
it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you for finally having me on your podcast.
From Stuart Rodriguez home to helping Margaret Josephs do some design in her home.
That's right. To
Puerto Coco, sanitizer for style, and it does, and I love it. I'll take it on my vacay. But this is so great. Thank you so much for coming on. Give my love to Fernando, who I want that photograph and how big we could get it, because I need it for the dining room wall, and he was going to tell me, but he forgot.
I will find out what is happening and why he is not returning Margaret Joseph's phone calls, emails, and text messages.
And emails, text messages. Aaron Stewart, tell everybody where to find you.
In Puerto Rico. No. At Puerto Coco Life is I don't even know. Puerto Coco Life is the Instagram for Puerto Coco. And my personal Instagram is aaron.p.stewart.
You're scaring me.
My little puppies. Oh, and then you have to go look, because the last thing I posted, I don't post that often on Instagram, but the last thing I posted is quite funny.
I have to look because I haven't seen it.
You see, it's me speaking. It's like, this is me after 8 years speaking Spanish in Puerto Rico. Go watch it. It'll give you a good laugh.
I know. I'm sure you just added an O to everything. Okay. I know. Well, thank you so much, Aaron.
Right. Love you guys.
Love you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Mwah. Well, that was hysterical, funny. I love the way he tells the story about working for Martha Stewart. He was so excited just to go on a private plane his first week of work, but to work with all the licensees, get to be super creative. He just learned so much about business. It was like college, really, for him. It was just, he learned everything about every aspect of business, able to open business on his own.
And I think it is amazing because he learned all the different areas of business, because at that time Martha was selling everyone. And there were so many interesting things he learned that he could apply to his future also.
I know. You know what I also love? He wanted to move away to Puerto Rico. He wanted to just change up his life. And he was like, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid. Everything he's done, he's just ripped off the Band-Aid. He did it without any fear, or maybe he has fear in his heart, but he just does it anyway. And, he doesn't let anything hold him back.
And every time it's paid off.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You just can't let anything hold you back. You just got to strike while the iron is hot and go for it.
Okay, so Caviar Dreamers.
Before we perspire and expire.
Yes, keep dreaming.
You could join us every week at Caviar Dreams Tuna Fish Budget on a Wednesday. New episodes, new amazing guests, and new inspirational conversations just for you.
Exactly. You can find me at The Real Margaret Josephs.
And me at The Life of Mrs. B. And everything is Caviar Dreams Tuna Fish Budget. Keep dreaming, guys.